Hello YouTube, welcome to Amber's Landscaping YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be doing pretty much picking up where we left off in the last one, which is some of our top things about having things that you need to have in your yearly contracts. In the previous video we talked about the pros and cons on having yearly contracts, what we experience, and so in this video we're going to be talking about some important things that you need to have in your contracts that's going to save you and your company a lot of money. As you can see, this is my new little baby girl. Her name's Aria Annabelle Ambrose. She was born November
13th,
thank you. I thought it was the 14th. And so she's been a really great little girl. She loves being outside with Dad, and as you can tell, she's for not even being close to 2 months, she's insane. She's already holding her neck up. She's trying to talk. She laughs. She smiles. Do you smile? Are you gonna smile for the camera? Okay, that's fine. So anyways, so let's go ahead and get started with some top things you need to have in your yearly contracts. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started with some of the top things I think you need to have that are most important in your yearly contracts. Now this is no particular order. If I do say this is a really important thing, then that would be number one. But I just kind of wrote a list down of some of the things we have in our contracts that I think are very important. So the first one is a cancellation clause. Now in your cancellation clause you need to be very specific on what's included. And over the past couple years we had a couple different ones. And the one that we found that's probably works the best is a 30-day cancellation clause. And this is a cancellation for either party. So if we're not happy with the work, or if we're not happy with working with this particular client, then we tell them, hey, you know, at the end of this month, we're going to be completely done, 30 days. And then that way they have that 30 days to find another person to take over. And then that way you pretty much can pack up and leave. It's also the other way around, where if the person is either moving, like we had a client do that just about a month ago, where we had a client move, or they're not happy with your work, they can sit there and say, hey, we'd like to cancel our contract. And sometimes, you know, what we've had in the past is that they just cancel it right there, like, oh, we'll just cancel it today, which is completely fine, especially if they're a really annoying client like we've had before. It's completely fine. But a cancellation clause is very important. Like I said, the 30-day one is what we had. When we first started off, it was a 30-60 day. And then what happens is that because people were starting to cancel a little bit early, and like I said in the last video, we were unable to recuperate some of that money from the summertime and the wintertime. So then we came out with this clause, a cancellation clause, where it's a 12-month contract. If you cancel anywhere between that 12-month, you would have to pay for the whole year of maintenance. So say if we were only 4 months into our contract, and then they cancel, then they would have to pay for the rest of the whole 8 months. Now, yeah, 8 plus 4 is 12, right? Okay, good. Just got to make sure. Okay. Don't want to look stupid on YouTube. All right. So the problem with that was a lot of residential and definitely commercial people do not like that. They hated it because then they felt like they're really stuck in it. And if you did crappy work, then they're pretty much paying to have that work continued. So that clause didn't last too long. I think it lasted a couple months, and then we changed it back to the 30-day. And that's where it seems to, where people are happy. We're really happy with it. And we kind of added some other things in the contract to kind of help us out where someone does wind up canceling with us. Now the next thing you need to have in your contracts is what is included with your cost. So say you have your X amount. So let's just say $100 a month. You need to be very specific on what your responsibilities are. So be very specific on, in one section, you want to have separate sections on work that, like lawn maintenance, and then a separate section for irrigation, and a separate section for excluded work. But you need to really have in there what your responsibilities are. That way that your clients aren't coming back saying, hey, why didn't you maintain this, or why aren't you doing this? That way you can sit there and say, in our contract it specifically says this, and that will save your butt quite a bit, which is really important. So be very specific on what your responsibilities are and what that cost is. The next thing you need to have to do, or to have, is excluded work, like we just said. You need to have in the contract that says, for instance, what we have is mulch or bark installation, pressure washing, removal or installation of shrubs. That's all excluded work. That way they know, because if you don't have that in your contract, they're going to think, well, it's not in your contract, so you can just do it, right? Trust me, people will try to take advantage of that. So you got to be very specific. And like I said, over the past 3 years, we've learned what, some things to add into our contracts to kind of save our butts, because from experience. And that's the best way you're going to learn, is from experience. It's not, you can watch as many YouTube videos as you want and read as many books, but it really comes down to experience. And of course, every location in the United States is different. The way we do contracts here is probably completely different than the way they do contracts on the East Coast. But excluded work is something that's really important to have in your in your contracts. Now, next thing you need to do is effective dates. So pretty much, we like to have our effective dates when we start January 1st to December 31st. It's really easy to keep track, because then at the end of the year that you need to re-sign. Like right now, we're at the time where we're re-signing contracts with all of our clients. Now, some of them we signed in the middle of the year, and what happens is that you get so busy in the middle of the year that you forget, and then they don't re-sign the contract, and so you just kind of continue the maintenance, and you want to make sure you're up to date on your contracts. So even though we sign the contracts in the middle of the year, we're pretty much saying, hey, we're starting over, starts January 1st now to December 31st. That way it's easy to kind of keep track of your contracts and when you need to renew them. The next thing you need to have is a late fee clause. A late fee clause. Now this is really going to help because what happens is that when people don't want to pay, which we've had earlier this year, we're actually having a problem with that with one of our commercial accounts, which we're going to do another video about to kind of save your guys' butts, because we'll talk about it in the next video. I'll just do another one right after this. Really important to have late fees in your contracts. The reason why is because people will not want to pay you, and it will happen. And so what's nice is that what really scares these people is you charging them more than what they paid for. They don't want that. So hold on, let me see if I have it on here. No, I don't. Oh, okay. So with the late fees, you need to have a must pay by this date. So we say that for, depending on what work we do, you have 30 days to pay us. If not, you get this $25 late fee. Now, what happens is some people usually either forget, or they wait till the end of the month, or sometimes they just don't want to pay you. When you add a late fee on there, that kind of scares them, because then they're having to pay for more than what you agreed to. And usually that kind of gets their attention pretty fast. And so we've had a couple people where they didn't want to pay us. We threw some late fees at them and they paid us right away. And of course, we also put in there that if, each month that you don't pay us, the $25 fee continues to build up like a snowball. And then that way you get some nice extra change. So definitely have a late fee in there, because like I said, it kind of just scares them a little bit to, it's a little bit easier way to really get your money. And then of course, over time, that late fee, say if they really don't want to pay you, which we're having a problem right now with one of our clients, that fee can build up so much where you can either take them to small claims court, you can sue them, or do whatever you can, and it does really help. So definitely have a late fee and a pay by this date clause. Like I said, it's usually a 25 to 30 day. 30 days usually more appropriate for contracts, so definitely have that in your contract. Another major thing, and this is probably one of the most important things, is the client signature and date. Of course, this contract means nothing without their signature, so you make sure you have a copy for yourself and a copy for them. We actually just had this happen just a couple days ago, where we had a client cancel at the beginning of the month. I think it was November, like November 1st, saying, hey, my dad is the property we maintain. We'll be moving out on the 14th of this month, so we're going to cancel our contract. So I said, okay, that's fine. So we sent them a bill for the end of November, and they said, well, why are you, we told you in the beginning of the month we don't want to pay it, so why are you sending us this? And I said, in our contract, it states that there's a 30-day cancellation, and if you don't, if you cancel with us, then you give us a 30-day notice, and you still have to pay for that month. And plus, since it was in the wintertime, like I said, it's that money that you use to recuperate for all the work that you did in the summertime. And so luckily her dad said, because he was like an older guy in his like 80s, he sat there and said, oh, well, we never signed a contract with you. And I said, yes, you did. So luckily I had it on file, his signature, I sent it over to them, and they said, oh, okay, perfect. Well, he didn't know that because he's old, so we will go ahead and send this off to you. And so luckily they're going to be sending us the payment. And at the time when we signed that contract with the guy, it was the cancellation clause that says if you don't pay or if you cancel, you have to pay for the whole year. So that kind of scared them, but we don't do that anymore. But we weren't going to do that anyways to them because they were good clients. So definitely important to have that client signature on there. I think it's definitely the most important thing because, like I said, the contract means nothing without that signature. A couple other tips. One of these things that we actually included in ours, or a couple things before signing a contract. With any job that we take, we always give a cleanup. Even if the property looks good, you have to give a cleanup bid. The reason why is this. When we take over a new job, that yard has to meet my expectations, which are pretty high. Because what happens is that if you come to a new property and you're doing all this cleanup work, you're pretty much doing it all for free. Say if they cancel a month or two later, because there was a lot to do, then you're out a lot of money. So any job that we take over, we say this is the cleanup bid, and in order for us to sign a contract with you, we have to do a cleanup. And so that's really important because, like I said, you don't want to take on a property where every single shrub needs to be trimmed, grass is tall, needs to be fertilized, the irrigation system needs to be turned on or adjusted. You don't want to do that and then spend all this time doing it, because trust me, it happens. And then at the end, they cancel the contract a month or two later. Now you're out all this money. So it's really important that you have a cleanup bid before you sign the contract. Another thing that we actually included, I think it was this last year, was to prevent people from canceling a month or two into the contract, was that it specifically says in there that we won't do any fertilizing or any kind of pesticide or anything like that unless we have 2 months of payment. And that 2 months of payment kind of helps us for if they do cancel after that. Because what happens, like I said, if you don't do a cleanup and you do all the work for the first month and then they cancel right after that, you just lost all this money. So it's really important that you have in there somewhere that says that we require at least 2 months of payment or some kind of pay up front before you do any work. And that will really save your company a lot of money and save your butt from losing a bunch on overhead, paying employees and all that stuff. Because it's not cheap running a landscaping business, that's for sure. And the higher you get up, the more commercial accounts you take on, the higher your insurance gets, because like I said, like we have on our trailer, we are licensed, bonded, and insured, so we're having to pay for, we just took over a Costco a couple months ago. So we had to increase our auto insurance payment, our coverage from it was like $500,000 to like $1 million coverage. And so that went from, I think, like $1,000 a year to like now $1,400 a year. So we had to pay another $300-400 up front. So of course, depending on what clients you take on, it's going to get pretty expensive. So it's really important that you watch your overhead, that you watch, your money. And like I said, you don't want to do any work without getting paid up front. So really important. So hopefully this works for you guys. Hopefully, if you're still interested in doing yearly contracts, like I said, if we didn't cover it in our videos, in the last one or this one, please leave a comment down below, and then we can do another video after saying, oh, this is something we missed, here's some other tips. So really hope you guys enjoyed this video. My hands are really cold, they're turning red, and I can barely feel them. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and we'll get some more up to you guys. Happy New Year's, and we will see you guys next time on Ambrose Landscaping.